5 years with Emma, a thriving construction company, and our newly purchased home that I had renovated myself. I thought we had built the perfect life together. Then came the night she looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Chad, I need a break to explore my feelings for Jake." My entire world shattered in that moment. My fiancée wanted permission to test drive her ex-boyfriend before committing to me for life. I never expected those words from the woman wearing my engagement ring, nor did she expect what I did in response. Before I tell you how I discovered my fiancée's true colors and what I did about it, drop a comment, letting me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if you've ever had to make a difficult decision to protect your self-respect. I first met Emma at my college friend Ryan's backyard barbecue 6 years ago. She arrived with a mutual friend, and I noticed her immediately. It was not just her captivating smile or the way she effortlessly engaged everyone in conversation. There was something magnetic about her intelligence and warmth that drew me in. After working up the courage to talk to her, I discovered we shared a love for hiking and home renovation shows. By the end of the evening, I had her number and a promise to meet for coffee that weekend. Our first date stretched into a 4-hour conversation. We took things slowly at first, both having experienced painful breakups in the past. Emma had mentioned that her relationship with her college boyfriend, Jake, had been particularly volatile, a passionate but unstable connection that had left her wary of rushing into anything new. I appreciated her caution, as it mirrored my own. At the time, I was working hard to grow my construction business. I had started with small contracting jobs, mainly residential renovations, slowly building a reputation for quality work and reliability. Emma supported my ambition from the beginning, offering marketing advice from her experience as an executive at a respected firm. She helped redesign my company website and created brochures that attracted higher-end clients. With her encouragement, I expanded from a one-man operation to a team of trusted employees handling multiple projects simultaneously. Our relationship grew alongside my business. We complemented each other perfectly, or so I thought. My practical, methodical approach balanced her spontaneity and creative thinking. Where I was sometimes too focused on details, Emma saw the bigger picture. When she would get carried away with ambitious ideas, I could help ground them in realistic execution. We were a team in the truest sense of the word. After 2 years of dating, we decided to move in together. I had recently secured a major commercial contract that would provide financial stability, and Emma had received a promotion. It seemed like the natural next step. We rented a spacious apartment downtown, combining our furniture and creating our first shared space. Those initial months of cohabitation revealed new dimensions of our compatibility, from morning routines to household responsibilities. Any small conflicts we had were resolved through open communication and compromise. A year later, on Emma's 30th birthday, I proposed during a sunset hike at Cascade Mountain, her favorite trail, with a breathtaking city view. I had carried the ring in my pocket, nervously checking it was secure throughout the entire ascent. When we reached the summit, I dropped to one knee and asked her to marry me. Her joyful yes and the tears in her eyes convinced me that she was as certain about our future as I was. We began house hunting immediately, excited to find a place we could truly make our own. After months of searching, we found a promising fixer-upper in a desirable neighborhood. The previous owners had neglected it, but I could see its potential. Emma fell in love with the large bay windows and spacious backyard. Using my construction expertise, I estimated the renovation costs and convinced the sellers to lower their asking price significantly. Once we closed on the house, I devoted weekends and evenings to renovations. I completely remodeled the kitchen with custom cabinets. I built my self-installed hardwood flooring throughout the main level and transformed the master bathroom into a spa-like retreat with a walk-in shower and soaking tub that Emma had specifically requested. My employees occasionally helped with larger projects, but I handled most of the work personally, wanting to create something special for our future together. Emma contributed by selecting fixtures, colors, and decorative elements. She would bring home design magazines and create vision boards for each room. Our home became the perfect blend of my craftsmanship and her aesthetic sensibilities. Friends who visited commented on how the house reflected both our personalities so completely. Our social life flourished during this time as well. We hosted dinner parties in our newly renovated space, went on double dates with friends, and spent holidays alternating between our families, who had welcomed each of us warmly. We began planning our wedding for the following summer, reserving a picturesque venue and selecting vendors. Emma created detailed spreadsheets for the budget and timelines. Everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place. Looking back, there were warning signs I chose to ignore. Occasionally, Emma would become inexplicably melancholy, staring into the distance with an expression I could not quite read. When asked, she would dismiss it as work, stress, or wedding planning anxiety. I accepted these explanations without pressing further, not wanting to seem distrustful. I also noticed that Emma maintained sporadic contact with Jake, her ex-boyfriend. She had explained early in our relationship that they had ended things amicably and occasionally caught up as friends. While this made me slightly uncomfortable, I never objected, believing that controlling who she spoke to would reflect my insecurity rather than mutual respect. Jake would occasionally appear at larger social gatherings through mutual friends. During these encounters, I noticed subtle changes in Emma's behavior. She became more animated, laughed more readily at his jokes, and seemed hyper-aware of his presence in the room. When I mentioned these observations, she accused me of overanalyzing normal interactions between old friends. In the months leading up to what would become our breaking point, Emma's behavior began to change in more concrete ways. She became increasingly protective of her phone, angling it away when I entered the room or quickly switching screens. Her work schedule became more unpredictable, with last-minute drinks or dinners with colleagues that often ran late into the evening. Each time I expressed concern, she had a plausible explanation that made me feel unreasonable for questioning her. Our seemingly perfect life together was built on a foundation that I believed was solid. The house we renovated stood as a physical testament to our commitment and shared future. The engagement ring on her finger symbolized promises we had made to each other. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming that would soon break everything apart. I remember that Wednesday evening with painful clarity. I had come home early to prepare a special dinner where we could finalize our wedding venue details. The coordinator needed our confirmation by Friday, and we had narrowed it down to 2 options. I made Emma's favorite pasta dish from scratch and opened a bottle of wine we had been saving for a special occasion. When 7 o'clock came and went with no sign of her, I sent a text asking when she would be home. Running late. Drinks with the marketing team. Be home by 8, she replied. This had become increasingly common, but I tamped down my frustration, wanting the evening to be pleasant and productive. She finally arrived at 9:30, slightly disheveled and smelling faintly of unfamiliar cologne. Dinner had long since gone cold, but I reheated a plate for her, maintaining a cheerful demeanor despite the gnawing anxiety in my stomach. "Sorry I am so late," she said, avoiding eye contact as she placed her purse on the counter. The client meeting ran over, and then everyone wanted to celebrate landing the Westridge account. I nodded, setting her plate at the dining table I had carefully arranged with candles and our best dinnerware. "No problem. I know how those work celebrations can go. I thought we could still discuss the venue options tonight, since we need to decide by Friday." Emma picked at her food, taking small sips of wine while responding to my questions with uncharacteristic brevity. After several minutes of increasingly uncomfortable conversation, she set down her fork and looked up with an expression that sent a chill through me. "We need to talk, Chad," she said, her voice unnaturally steady. "There is something I have been struggling with, and I need to be honest with you." My hand froze midway to my wine glass. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "I was not with my coworkers tonight. I was with Jake." The name hung in the air between us like a physical presence. Jake, her ex-boyfriend. Jake, whom she had claimed was just a friend. Jake, who always looked at her with barely concealed longing whenever our social circles overlapped. "He reached out a few weeks ago," she continued, when I said nothing. "He is going through a divorce from his wife. He needed someone to talk to, someone who understands him. And that person had to be you," I finally managed to ask. "We have history," she said defensively. "We were together for 4 years before you and I met. That kind of connection does not just disappear." I set my napkin down carefully, fighting to keep my voice level. "So, you have been meeting with your ex-boyfriend behind my back?" while we are planning our wedding. It is not like that she protested, though her eyes betrayed her. At least it did not start like that. But seeing him again has brought up feelings I thought were resolved, and now I am confused. Confused about what exactly? The room seemed to be closing in around me. About us. About the wedding. About what I really want. Emma twisted her engagement ring nervously. Jake was my first real love, Chad. We were passionate and intense in a way that I just need to know if those feelings were real or just nostalgia before I commit to marriage. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline to what surely must be a cruel joke. It never came. "What exactly are you saying, Emma?" I asked, though I already knew. "I need some time," she said, the words tumbling out faster now. "A break from our engagement. Just for a few months while I figure things out. Jake and I need to explore these unresolved feelings so I can have clarity before committing to forever with you." The proposal landed like a physical blow. My fiancée was essentially asking permission to have an affair before deciding if she wanted to marry me after all. "And what am I supposed to do during this break?" I asked, amazed at how calm I sounded despite the hurricane of emotions inside. "You could stay with Ryan or your brother," she suggested, as if this were a reasonable request. "The wedding plans would be on pause, but the venue deposit is refundable if we decide by next month." "This would be temporary, Chad. Just until I get closure." "Closure." I repeated the word, tasting bitter. "You mean sleeping with your ex, to decide if I am the better option?" She flinched at the directness. "It is not about comparing you. It is about making sure I am not bringing unresolved issues into our marriage. Would you rather I have these doubts after we are already married?" I could not formulate a response that would not include shouting. So I simply stood up and walked out of the dining room. I spent that night on the couch, unable to sleep beside the woman who had just shattered my understanding of our relationship. In the morning, Emma acted as though we had reached some kind of understanding, kissing me on the cheek before leaving for work, and mentioning she would be late again that evening. As I watched her drive away, a cold realization settled over me. This was not a momentary confusion or pre-wedding jitters. This was Emma revealing her true priorities and values, and they did not include loyalty to me or respect for our relationship. Whatever I had thought we were building together had been a mirage, and it was evaporating before my eyes. That day marked the beginning of the most calculated period of my life. While Emma believed I was reluctantly accepting her proposed break, I was meticulously planning my exit from both the relationship and our shared life. The first thing I did after she left for work was call my friend Marcus, who practiced family law. I explained the situation and asked about my legal options regarding our house and other shared assets. "Since you are not married yet, it simplifies things somewhat," Marcus explained. "But property division can still be complicated. What names are on the mortgage and deed?" I confirmed both our names were on all documents, though I had made the down payment from my savings and had documented all the renovation expenses I had personally covered. "You have two main options," Marcus advised. "You can buy her out based on current market value accounting for your documented contributions, or you could sell the house and split the proceeds. Either way, you need to act quickly before this gets messier." That afternoon, I met with a real estate agent who had worked with my construction company on several projects. She did a walkthrough of our home and estimated we could list it for significantly more than we had paid, largely due to my renovations. The market was hot, and she was confident it would sell quickly. While waiting for Emma to return that evening, I went through our home office, gathering financial documents and scanning important records. In the process, I discovered something that hardened my resolve. In Emma's desk drawer was a printed confirmation for a weekend getaway at a lakeside cabin scheduled for the upcoming weekend. The reservation was under Jake's name and included a note about celebrating their new beginning. The discovery prompted me to check her laptop, which she had left unlocked. I found months of messages between them, revealing that this sudden reconnection had actually been developing since Jake first contacted her about his impending divorce 6 months earlier. What began as supportive friendship had evolved into increasingly intimate conversations, filled with reminiscences about their past relationship and subtle digs at me and our predictable life together. I took photos of these messages as evidence, then closed her laptop, feeling a strange calm replace my initial hurt. This wasn't a momentary lapse or confusion on Emma's part. This was a calculated deception that had been unfolding right under my nose while I renovated our home and planned our wedding. The next morning, I called my financial advisor to discuss disentangling our finances. While we maintained separate bank accounts, we had joint credit cards and investment accounts that needed to be addressed. He helped me create a checklist of actions to take, emphasizing the importance of documenting everything. After work, I visited my parents to explain what was happening. My mother cried, having grown fond of Emma, but my father was pragmatic. "Better to find out now than after the wedding, son," he said, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. "You cannot build a marriage on a foundation of deception." I spent the evening taking inventory of my personal belongings and researching apartments. Emma came home late again, mentioned casually that she would be away with girlfriends that weekend, and retreated to the guest bedroom, which had become her sleeping space since our confrontation. Friday morning, Emma packed a weekend bag and kissed me goodbye with a promise to talk more when I get back. I nodded, wishing her a good trip, and waited until her car disappeared down the street before springing into action. Within 2 hours of her departure, the real estate agent was at our house, taking professional photographs and finalizing the listing. By that afternoon, a for sale sign stood in our front yard, and the listing went live on all major real estate websites. Given the desirable neighborhood and my extensive renovations, the agent priced it aggressively above market value. I spent Saturday viewing apartments and found a suitable one-bedroom unit in a high-rise downtown, far from our suburban neighborhood. I signed a 6-month lease, on the spot, paying the security deposit and first month's rent from my personal savings. That same day, I rented a small moving truck, and with help from my brother and 2 friends, moved my essential belongings and personal items to the new apartment. By Sunday afternoon, 4 serious offers on the house had come in, all above asking price. I authorized the agent to accept the highest, which included minimal contingencies and a rapid closing timeline. I removed only what was undisputedly mine, leaving all joint purchases and household items in place to avoid accusations of improper removal of shared property. Before leaving the house for the final time, I placed Emma's engagement ring on the kitchen counter with a simple note that read, "Break accepted. Permanently." I had my phone number changed, set up email filters to automatically archive anything from her, and instructed mutual friends that I would not be discussing the relationship with or about Emma. By Sunday evening, when Emma returned from her weekend with Jake, I was completely moved into my new apartment. The house was under contract to be sold, and I had disappeared from her life as thoroughly as if I had never been part of it. The barrage began Sunday night. First came confused texts to my old number, which went unanswered since I had already changed it. Then frantic calls to my brother and friends, all of whom responded with variations of "Chad has made his decision. You should respect it." By Monday morning, she was standing in the lobby of my office building demanding to see me. My receptionist, who had been briefed on the situation, politely but firmly informed her that I was unavailable and would only communicate through legal representatives going forward. Emma cycled through a predictable pattern of emotions in her attempts to reach me. Initially, there was confusion and hurt. "How could you just leave like that? We were supposed to talk about this." Then came anger. "You had no right to list our house without talking to me. This is so immature and petty." Finally, there were blank, desperate pleas. "The weekend with Jake was a mistake. I realized you are the one I want. Please just talk to me so we can fix this." I maintained absolute silence, communicating only through my attorney regarding the house sale and division of assets. The offers on our house led to a bidding war, resulting in a sale price nearly 20% above our original asking price. After the mortgage was paid off, the remaining proceeds were substantial. My lawyer negotiated a fair division based on documented contributions, resulting in Emma receiving slightly less than half of the profit, which was deposited directly into her account, without any direct contact between us. 3 weeks after I left, mutual friends reported that Emma appeared at a dinner party looking haggard and desperate to discuss what had happened. She told a version of events that cast her as the victim of my extreme overreaction to what had been just a passing confusion. When pressed by those who knew the truth, she broke down and admitted that her weekend with Jake had been deeply disappointing. The chemistry, she remembered, had fizzled in reality, and he had already begun pulling away, mentioning that he was not ready for anything serious so soon after his divorce. By the time the house closing was complete, 6 weeks later, Emma's narrative had shifted again. Now she claimed she had made the biggest mistake of her life and would do anything to win me back. She sent a handwritten letter to my parents' house, knowing they might forward it to me. In it she wrote that she had ended all contact with Jake, had started therapy to understand why she had risked our relationship, and believed we could rebuild something even stronger than before. I read the letter once and shredded it. The woman who had asked me for a break to explore options with another man was not someone I could ever trust again, regardless of how much therapy she underwent or promises she made. In the months that followed, I focused entirely on rebuilding my life. My construction company thrived as I channeled my emotional energy into securing larger projects and expanding my team. The downtown apartment became a comfortable base for my new beginning, minimally furnished but functional. I established a strict workout routine, joined a local climbing gym, and reconnected with friends I had somewhat neglected during my relationship with Emma. 6 months after our separation, Emma made one final attempt at reconciliation. She appeared outside my apartment building one evening as I returned from work. She had lost weight and her eyes held a desperate gleam that might once have moved me to compassion. "Just 5 minutes, Chad," she pleaded. "After 5 years together, do I not deserve at least that?" Against my better judgment, I agreed to a brief conversation at a nearby coffee shop. She came prepared with what felt like a rehearsed speech about growth, forgiveness, and second chances. She revealed that Jake had completely cut contact after using her for emotional support during his divorce. She claimed to understand now how deeply she had hurt me and how much she had taken our relationship for granted. "We built something beautiful together," she said, reaching for my hand across the table. "We can rebuild it. I know we can." I gently pulled my hand away. What we built was based on trust. Emma, once that foundation is gone, there is nothing left to build upon. "People make mistakes," she insisted. "If you really loved me, you would be willing to forgive one mistake." "It was not one mistake," I replied calmly. "It was hundreds of small choices over months that led to asking your fiancé to put his life on hold while you explored options with someone else. That reveals character, not a momentary lapse in judgment." I left her crying at that coffee shop, feeling the final ties between us sever completely. Whatever lingering emotions I had carried were released in that moment, leaving only a sense of peace and certainty that I had made the right decision. A year after ending my engagement, my life had transformed in ways I could not have anticipated. My company secured its largest commercial contract to date, necessitating a move to larger office space. I purchased a downtown condo with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river, designing and renovating it myself as a testament to my new beginning. More importantly, I began dating again, this time with clearer boundaries and expectations. I met Alexis, an architectural designer, at a building industry conference. Unlike my relationship with Emma, which had progressed rapidly from intensity to commitment, Alexis and I moved forward deliberately, building a foundation of honest communication and mutual respect. When Alexis asked about my previous engagement, I shared the story without bitterness or resentment. Her response told me everything I needed to know about her character. "I cannot imagine how painful that must have been," she said, "but I admire how you handled it. You valued yourself enough to walk away from something that was no longer serving you." Looking back on the experience from the perspective of time and healing, I realized that ending my engagement was not just about responding to Emma's betrayal. It was about recognizing my own worth and refusing to compromise on the values I hold most dear: loyalty, honesty, and respect. While the pain was excruciating at the time, it forced me to rebuild my life on a stronger foundation of self-respect and clearer boundaries. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved to preserve your dignity and self-respect? Share your experience in the comments below. I have found that these difficult stories often resonate most deeply with others going through similar challenges. If my journey helped you gain perspective on your own situation, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories of resilience and self-discovery. Consider sharing this video with someone who might need to hear that sometimes walking away is an act of self-love, not failure. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember that every ending, no matter how painful, creates space for new beginnings that better align with who you truly are and what you deserve.